Good evening, everyone. I'm Seth Eisenberg, your host. This is a conservative corner, and it's 7:01. So I've been on time a lot lately. It's kind of setting a bad precedent because I know something will happen next week and I won't be on time, and then everybody will be upset and blah, blah, blah. It gets out of hand. It gets ugly. But it is what it is, right? So I hope you all had a decent work week. I hope you had a good weekend. Well, it's a 3-day weekend, so we still got one more day left, which is cool. So we get to sleep in one more day before we get back to the grind, which is always a pleasure. Like I said, I got to hit lotto. I'm tired of working. Need to take a break, enjoy some life. But it is what it is, and it'll be what it'll be. But what can you do? Like I said, unless you hit lotto, nothing you can do. So, I'm just looking through my notes so I know I got everything we need. And I should have done that before the show. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get lazy, which is a lot of the time. All right, so let's get right down to it. So, we start the show off with the breaking and interesting news. I didn't, or headlines and breaking news or interesting news, because most of the stuff I'm bringing up now, I hope you've seen or heard of before now, but it goes anyway. I don't know if you've seen this. This is kind of new. The U.S. blocked Palestinian leaders from entering the United States ahead of the UN meeting they're having, which I think is awesome. Most of these people are PLO, so that's a terrorist organization. And if they're not, they're just all around shitbirds that shouldn't be in our country anyway, because we already have enough. Let's not import any. Um, of course, people are whining and crying. You've got the idiot terrorist sympathizers on social media going, "Oh, this is wrong. America's a horrible, horrible country." These are the people that behead people and cut hands off and execute homosexuals, but we're the bad guys for not letting them into our country. I got it. It makes complete sense to me. Shut up. I mean, really, I'm so sick of all these pro-Palestinian people. You've become a bore. I can read you like a book now. There's nothing original or clever about anything you have to say because you just repeat what you've heard somebody else say. And there's only so many taglines and slogans you can spew before you start repeating yourself. And you're repeating yourself. Nobody cares what you have to say anymore, really. What's going to happen is going to happen. The countries that are dumb enough to listen to you and boycott Israel are. The ones that aren't going to boycott aren't going to start boycotting now because you're screaming and yelling. So save your breath, crawl back into your basement, have your jello, and have your mom come down and pat your butt and tell you how special and wonderful you are and how you're fighting the big mean man and she's proud of you. Do you all people not have jobs I see you all protesting during the day. Do you not have where you have to be? Don't have to see your parole officer. Don't have to see your psychiatrist. I mean, there's nothing you have to do during the day except go run around and talk about how great Palestine is. And then number two, could any one of you support Palestine? Please show me on a map exactly where Palestine is. Anyone, anyone, because you can't, because it's not on a map, because it's never existed. And you can tell these people that until they're blue in the face. You're blue in the face, and they don't care because they don't listen to facts. Liberals are all about what they think, and whatever they think is reality. That's just how it works. That's why they're such a bore. They're annoying. They're not intelligent. I mean, that's the funny thing. They think people walk away from it because, well, I've said something so smart they can't respond. No, it's just because you're so stupid, and I have more important things to do than sit around and talk to a stupid person. It's like when you're like, I don't know, when you're on Facebook and you block somebody, they would say, well, they're blocking me because I said some truth. No, I'm blocking you because you're an asshole and you're a waste of my time. And I don't have the crayons nor the patience to explain to you how you're wrong. So I'm just going to block you for my own personal health because you're not worth the time. Same thing goes for these Palestinian and Hamas supporters. Ignore them. Let them have their little protests and whatever they have, and nobody show up. Let the 10 of them scream and yell at each other and just walk by them. Drop a quarter or a dollar down and tell them, here, get something to eat. But I don't even put it on TV anymore. But that's not going to happen because most of the mainstream media are terrorist sympathizers too, and they're going to air it as much as they can. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Tampon Timmy's back in the mail. If you forgot who he was, he's the governor of Minnesota who ran for vice president with Kamala Harris and got their asses beat like they were caught stealing something. They really got trounced, which is funny. Makes me laugh. But this moron's now giving people the ability to obtain driver's licenses, as it says, regardless of immigration status. So you don't have to be a citizen anymore in Minnesota to get a driver's license. Didn't we just have a truck driver who was here illegally kill 3 people because he doesn't know what the fuck he was doing and did some stupid shit in the middle of the highway and 3 people died because of that? So this moron's going to double down on the stupidity, and he's going to get people, regardless of their immigration status or if they can read English or understand the language, driver's licenses at the expense of the Minnesotans. Was it Minnesotan or Minnesotan? I don't know. People who live in Minnesota. It's going to be at their expense. They're going to foot the bill. How do you pay taxes if you don't have a Social Security number? And how do you get a driver's license if you don't have a Social Security number or anything like that? See, they have to break the laws to make sure these people can get what they want. That should be your first hint that they shouldn't be doing it. If you have to break a law to get somebody something, you shouldn't be doing it. It's that simple. But I'm old-fashioned that way, I guess. I just figured if you're not here legally and it's against the law for you to have a license, you shouldn't have one. It's not my job to make your life easier if you can't follow simple instructions. But apparently Tampon Timmy has taken it upon himself to reward bad behavior and illegal activity. Once again, if you look at that picture, I see no American flag anywhere, which is not shocking because that guy's a beta male. He's the guy that said he carried weapons of war, but can't tell you what weapons or what war, or something like that. Yeah, he's like the idiot in Maryland we have. More. I got a Bronze Star. No, you don't. Yeah, I didn't have it then. I had to wait a few years to get it, but I got one finally. Okay, whatever, tough guy. I mean, it used to be a time and place when politicians would lie behind your back and then deny it in your face. Now they just lie in your face and say, whatever, what are you going to do? He's breaking the law, whatever, what are you going to do? It goes back to what I've said before, and I'll keep saying it. Accountability. We need to hold these people accountable. They're no better than us. They're politicians. That's it. They're one step above like insurance salespeople. And I'm not insulting insurance people, so save it. I'm just saying, and you all know, like a snake oil salesman. They're one step above a snake oil salesman. They lie, steal, cheat, and mislead people just to stay in power. And we got to change that. Why are we paying for that? And yeah, like I've said, you cut down all these people and make sure we only get people who really want to help the run. You make the starting pay for a congressman or senator or any politician the mean salary of the people they represent. So if you're a county employee politician, you make the mean salary of your county. If you're a state politician, you make the mean salary of your state. That's simple. So nobody be making $300,000-$400,000 a year. Some of them be making like $17,000, $18,000 a year. Some states are pretty poor. Well, maybe not that poor, but they wouldn't be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And you want to see the economy and the state boom? Tie the senator and congressman's pay to it and watch shit happen. Once they realize that they better their state, they get better pay. They're going to go all out for their state and try to make it a better place. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. But they'll never do that. I mean, they have to vote that in themselves. We're letting the fox guard the hen house here. I mean, they vote themselves pay raises. And I mean, what do they work, like 70, 80 days a year, some shit like that? They get like 25 months off and they get more holidays than I can count. It's ridiculous. But we're paying them for that, and it's fine because they're politicians. And a lot of people out there think politicians are gods, and they deserve everything they get. The pay they get, all the time off they get because they work so hard. Whatever. Here's another low-life piece of shit politician. I remember him. He is Mayor Jacob Fry. He was the gentleman mayor at the shooting in Minnesota when he got upset that people were using this horrible tragedy to attack the trans person for doing it. And he stood up and said, that's not right. Here he is on his knees at a casket of a career street thug, crying. I mean, weeping like a baby in 2020. And this is while his city was burning. That's where his priorities lie. Not with the taxpayer, not with the law abiding citizens, with mentally ill and criminal people. That's where his heart is. That's who he's concerned about. I don't understand how people like that get voted in. He's a clown. He's a danger to the people he represents. And he's just, again, another beta male. And people will elect people like him in office all the time. The man is on his knees crying about a street criminal. He was upset that people were, giving the trans people a hard time because a trans person killed some kids. That was his issue. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. This man has now told you twice who he is. He's a criminal lover. He loves criminals. He wants to represent them. He wants to make sure they're not mistreated or maligned or made fun of, because can't do that. That's not right. Sorry, got a text from my son. Or that's not right. He's like that other idiot mayor, was it in Chicago, that's written up a law or something that will prevent Trump from sending troops in, or the National Guard into his city to clean it up, because God forbid they enforce some laws there. People in these areas need to vote these people out. They are dangerous. They are dangerous to everybody they represent, because it's not about right or wrong with them. It's about, how do I get reelected? How do I represent the 2% of the people that voted for me and screw everybody else? There's nothing wrong with sending the National Guard in, because, like I said, they're not enforcing like curfews. They're not making you walk around with papers. They're not telling you can't gather, on the street corner with your friends. They're not doing any of that. They're walking around with the police. Hell, in D.C., they got them picking up trash and doing mulch. And then people were bitching about that. Well, they're the military. Is that what they do? Dude, I was in the Navy. I can remember plenty of times having to mop rainwater off the sidewalk while it was raining because somebody above me thought we needed something to do. Picking up trash makes more sense to me than what I had to do. Or going out there and counting the leaves because, there has to be an even number. So if you've never been in the military, shut up. They're probably happy they're picking up trash because nobody's like micromanaging them and telling me what they got to do. Just leave them alone. For Christ's sake, some of you don't know what you're talking about and nobody can tell you that. So you keep running your mouth. God, this is why I'm backing off social media, because it's just like a magnet for idiots. And it's aggravating. And those people reproduce. That's the scariest part about that. They have their offspring. Christ. Yeah, but the mayor out there in Chicago, I think it is, or Detroit, said he's not going to allow Trump to send in the National Guard. He's going to fight it. He called it an invasion. He probably can't even spell the word invasion, but he's using it. I mean, what happened to statesmen? People who really wanted to represent their community and help it make it better. What happened to them? All we get now are hustlers and criminals and liars. Maybe decent people stop running for office. Who knows? I mean, I wouldn't blame them. Who would want to get tied up in that BS anyway? It's ridiculous. Just ridiculous. So that was the interesting and all the other stuff that I thought caught my eye, so I talk about it. Now we're going to move on to another joke of a man who just can't help himself. Wears skinny jeans and manicured, got his wind tunnel tested hairdo. This idiot, Gavin Newscum, threatens to punch those sons of bitches in the mouth. This dude couldn't, in a fruit fight, wouldn't bust a grape. But here he is threatening to punch people in the mouth. I'm more afraid of the 2-year-old that lives next door to me than I am of this cuck, beta male wannabe, thinks he's a tough guy, who let his city burn twice, really, had the fires, or his state burn, had the fires, and then he had the riots where they burned everything, and did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing, but he thinks he can run the country better than anybody. Guy's an idiot. I mean, just look at him. He's a full-blown idiot. Somewhere, some village is missing their idiot, and I can pointed to him. He's in California in the suit that's 2 sizes too small for him, thinking he's a leader. I mean, I've been to California. I'm stationed in California. I would never want to live there. Nice place to visit. You can go skiing and swimming in the same day. Really cold, really hot. That's one of the attractions too. Other than that, after about a week, it's time to go. I need to get out of here. It's like the inmates are running the prison out there. But with a guy like that, he's talking, I'm going to punch him in the mouth. Who's not going to do anything? Let's be honest. He's not going to do a thing except run his mouth. He's running the show. And you got the idiot Bass in the city of Los Angeles, who's another just half a moron who doesn't know what she's doing, fighting the law enforcement because they're deporting people who shouldn't be in the first place, and she's not for that. Damn. I don't get these people. Do they really think what they're doing is right? Does he really think what he did in allowing illegal immigration and all that is right? Does she really think that's the right thing to do? I mean, deep down in places they don't talk about at cocktail parties. Do they agree with that? I don't think so. But you never know. I mean, they continually do it, so maybe they do agree with it. Maybe it is something they like. I don't know. It gets aggravating. It gets annoying. How can I soar like an eagle when I'm surrounded by turkeys like that? You know what I mean? It gets tough. And, of course, we have the chat. If you've got anything to say, post it in the chat. And if I can get to it, I will. And if I don't, please don't take it personal. It's not that I'm ignoring you. I'm going on a rant or something, and I'm tied up in that. So please, join in. This Newscum officers clemency to 5 inmates serving life without parole. I have some notes here. Let me find those notes because it's interesting who he decided to let go. Because that's just who he is. Among those who were sentenced, commuted, was Randolph Hogue, who was 28 years old in 1990 when he was convicted in LA court of murdering his girlfriend's ex-husband. The Times reported that Hogue, a truck driver, shot Charles Swede 6 times in the back before running away. And Newsome thinks that he is deserving of clemency. Shot a man in the back. And Hogue's, the family of the victim said, "My brother's been dead longer than he was alive, and Hogue is still alive." She said, "He deliberately killed another man. So no, I don't want him out, and he shouldn't come out." Many of those granted clemency Friday were young adults when they committed their crimes, including Christian Rodriguez, who was 19 when he killed one victim and then injured another in 1996. Rodriguez, 47, will now be eligible to appear before the parole board. Mr. Rodriguez has worked as both a youth offender and peer literacy mentor, and corrections officers have commended him for his leadership in rehabilitative games. Newsome wrote. I'm all for, when you get out of prison, you should be treated like any other citizen. You've paid your debt, your tab is clean, you're square with the house. But I'm also about accountability. If you were sentenced to life in prison, guess what? Sorry, you were sentenced to life. You earned it. This wasn't a mistake. It's not, we made it. He didn't do it. You did it. You were convicted by a jury of your peers or a judge in good standing in that state. He sentenced you to life without parole. That's what you do. And then along comes this POS who doesn't care. He's doing it to get votes because people who think these people should be out will tell their friends, "Oh, he got this guy out. He's a great man. Look, he believes in second chances. Vote for him." No, he believes in no accountability. He believes that, you know what? Yeah, the judge said this, or yeah, jury of peers said that, but I know better. I'm going to let you out, or I'm going to make you eligible for parole. No, that's the problem in this country. Criminals don't get held accountable. They get these half-assed steps, these little measures to try to hold them in check. But when push comes to shove, we have people like this idiot who will let them go because they've done good in prison. Well, it's because they have to. They got to do good. They don't get to run around and do what they want to do in prison. They're there forever. So, yeah, they've got to get a routine going and do something. Does that mean, if they help people read or become a mentor that goes, "Hey, we'll forget about the person you killed or you shot 6 times in the back, and we'll let you out of here"? Where's the justice in that? How is justice served with that? You heard the guy's sister. The dude's been dead longer than he's been alive, and they're letting the murderer out. California, land of fruits and nuts. Gotta love it. And just to show some of Newsom's highlights of his leadership in California, who can forget this picture? Burning police cars, flying the Mexican flag, just complete and utter chaos. Gavin Newsom did nothing about it, but he's going to be tough on crime. Remind of that. He's going to be tough on crime. When it's his turn, when he gets elected president, it's going to be different. Or how about this? Police officers being attacked with fireworks, bricks, and other things in Los Angeles under Newsom's watch. And again, nothing. Trump had to send in the Marines to get that shit in control because Newsom and Bass wouldn't lift a finger to help their own police department. And there's just a great picture. It shows some great leadership there. Another favorite of mine, again, burning cars, flying the Mexican flag. This is what Newsom's going to bring to the country if he gets elected. This scab of a human being, this is what he's going to allow. And how do I know? Because he's allowing it in the state he runs. Why wouldn't he do it again? Past performance is a perfect predictor of future actions. Here you go. He allowed LA to burn twice and did nothing about it, and then got upset when someone tried to fix the problem. Why do you think it would be any different if he got president of the U.S.? Why do you think he would act different? He's shown us he won't. He's too busy with making sure his hair is perfect and his skinny jeans are just tight enough to show off his ass. The guy's not a leader. Not a leader at all. And this is what you get. And again, let his city burn. Biggest city I think it's one of the biggest cities in his state. He let it burn. Did nothing to stop it. I mean, I read stories where they were turning away fire trucks from other states because they wouldn't be able to pass California inspections. So they had to wait. I mean, the guy's an idiot. The guy is an idiot. And Karen Bass, or whatever her name is, the asshole who runs LA, the mayor, is no better. So this is what you're going to get. And you're not going to be able to convince me otherwise. This is what will happen if Newscum becomes president of the U.S. I don't think he's got a snowball's chance in hell. I really don't. But stranger things have happened. I mean, just look at this one. In the streets of America, foreign flags being flown, cars being burnt, and he was okay with it. Did nothing to stop any of that. Then he watched one of his cities burn and did nothing to stop that. And it could have been preventive measures from what I read. There's things they could have done that could have prevented, but he didn't do anything. And now the city passed a law where they can buy the property back from the people who lost everything. The guy's just dirty. The guy's dirty, sketchy, and unethical, which makes him just about the same as most politicians around the world. It's not just him. It's everybody. Not all politicians. There's some good ones, but there are far few between. So keep that in mind when you go to the polls. Just because they say they're going to do something doesn't mean they're going to do it. All you got to do is look at their past, see what they've done in their past. And I said it's a perfect predictor. You look at this, you know what Newsom's going to do. The first when he's in office, he's not going to do anything to help the taxpayers, the American citizens, or legalize aliens. He's going to help illegal aliens. He's going to let them run around and burn and destroy and do things and tell police they can't enforce the law. And we're not deporting anybody. That's exactly what he's going to do. And then we'll become a third world nation almost overnight with him in office. Almost overnight with any Democrat in office is what's going to happen. They're going to stop all the law enforcement, and they're going to rule with feelings and emotions. That's how they're going to rule. They're not going to rule with logic and facts. It'll be, I feel, or I think, or this hurts my feelings, so we're not going to do that. That's how it's going to go, and we're all going to pay for it. One way or another, we're all going to pay for it. So don't, like I said, vote for the most conservative candidate on the ticket you can. Always. Because you don't have this stuff happen in conservative cities. They don't allow this crap to go on. They crush it pretty quick. And that's how it should be. Lawlessness is like a cancer. It will spread, as you can see in LA. It starts with one little protest, and next thing you got 20 protests. And then next thing you know, they're burning police cars and throwing rocks and explosives and fireworks at police officers. It happens. There's your proof. I'm not making it up. And that happens under democratic leadership. And I use the word leadership very loosely. But that's what you're going to get. It's like the mayor that was not going to let the National Guard come into his city. That's an invasion. No, you're an idiot. And you know if they come in, they're going to show how inadequate and ineffective as a leader you are. So you're not going to let that happen because you don't need to be embarrassed. You're doing a good job on your own. Don't need any help. Just like the schmuck in Maryland, Wes Moore, just a liar, makes up military medals he's received that he hadn't received. And he's already said he's not letting the National Guard come to Maryland either. Blah, 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 blah. Trump should just walk through Baltimore with me. You see how clean it is. It's the fourth most dangerous city in the country, idiot. It's not safe. And like I said before, numbers are numbers. Can't fudge numbers. They are what they are. Baltimore is a toilet bowl. Unfortunately, good people are forced to live there because financially they can't leave. But Baltimore is a toilet bowl. Run by a turd who I wouldn't let run the midnight shift at a Circle K in Alaska. But he's the mayor. What's the common denominator? Democrats. Democrats here, Democrats there, Democrats with Tampon Tim, just so you can see his jerky face again. Tampon Tim right there, that old bald-headed dude giving driver's license to anybody now. It doesn't matter if you're legal or illegal. He's going to give it to you. This idiot who got mad at people for talking about trans people after a trans person shot kids at a church is on his knees crying and weeping like a little girl at a casket of a criminal who overdosed while the city was rioting. This is how he spent his time. You got this idiot threatening to punch people in the face or the mouth because he thinks that's cool. Then he's letting murderers out of prison because, they're good people. They made a mistake. We're not talking about people who got speeding. We're not talking about people who, skipped out on a bill or shoplifted or had a joint. We're talking about people who took the life of somebody else, murdered somebody. The guy I was talking about shot his ex-wife's husband in the back 6 times. 6 times. Now, if he was using a revolver, he emptied the gun. And if he was using a semi-automatic, he put half the clip into the guy's back. That's not a mistake. That's not something that spur of the moment. You have to think every time you pull that trigger what you're doing. And you know how I knew he was wrong? Because he ran. Guilty people run. Innocent people stand. So he's letting murderers out because they help people read in prison. And like I said, I'm all for rehabilitation. I really am. And I'm glad these guys are doing well. But that doesn't mean you get to get out. You were sentenced to life without parole. That's what you're going to do. I'm glad you've turned your life around. I'm glad you're helping other people. That's awesome. Maybe you get some more privileges in prison, an extra visiting day or whatever, extra pudding at lunch. I don't know, but you're not getting out. No matter what you do, you can never erase the fact that you took the life of another human being. That will never change. These people's lives who that's affected will never change. They'll never see their brother, their son, or their father ever again. You don't get to get out because you're helping somebody learn to color in the lines. Not going to happen. But this is what you get when you get Democrats in charge. As long as you're not a Republican, you can be rehabilitated. We can work with you. We'll let you out. If you're a Republican, not so much. You're irredeemable. You're going to hell. But if you murder somebody in California and you teach somebody to read life without parole, doesn't really mean life without parole. There you have it. I don't know. Like I said, the more I learn, the less I wish I knew. But I'm standing in the breach for you. I'm reading about all the BS so you don't have to read about it. And I can just talk to you about it. All right, we'll be right back. Got to pay some bills. And then we'll get into some more stuff.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. but America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
So yeah, you've got Alexandra Levine. She's our White House correspondent. Has a really good show. 2 shows, I think, during the week. 2 of them. And then we have Damon the Hammer Galdo. Again, does a show and a radio show. Both very smart people. They both know what they're talking about. And just shows are worth watching. So if you can check them out, check them out. And as always, got Damon Sherrod, the puppet master, behind the scenes, helping run everything smoothly. So it's all falling into place. Yeah, and remember, he just reminded me, remember it's a Labor Day holiday tomorrow, so I don't know if you got to work or not. I don't. So I hope you don't. And you can relax and enjoy it, have a burger or a hot dog or a beer. Whatever it is you do to celebrate Labor Day, do it tomorrow and have fun. So the next segment, we're going to talk about something that I wish we could just stop talking about. I really, really do. So I'll go back to this. I remember there were people who were upset that Marco Rubio is blocking members of the PLO from entering the U.S. ahead of the UN resolution meeting, or whatever you want to call it. People are upset about it, that he's telling terrorists they can't come into the country because you're terrorists and you kill innocent people simply because they don't worship the way you want them to worship, or they don't dress the way you want them to dress, or whatever reasons you make up in your sick fucking heads to kill somebody. That's what you do. Let the rest of the world take these savages as respectable people that have something to say that we should listen to. America has taken the stance that you're subhuman, you're animals, and you're terrorists. We don't want you in our country. Thank you. Have some falafel and have a nice day. Beautiful. More countries should do this. More countries should be more upset with terrorism than they should about a country like Israel fighting back against terrorists. But we're not. We live in a country where people support PLO. We're in a country where people are pissed off that people were praying for those kids that got killed in Minnesota more than they were pissed off about the guy who shot them. We live in a world where people were more concerned with using the guy's proper pronouns who killed those kids than they are about PLO people coming to the country. That's the world we live in right now. That's what the Democrats have brought this world to. We're more concerned about terrorists and murderers than we are about victims. It's more important that we respect these monsters than it is we respect the average everyday citizen. That's how they view things. And you can't tell me I'm wrong, because every time I think maybe they've turned the corner, they go right back to this. They go right back to it, and they spew the same BS, and people get hurt because of it. They perpetuate violence. They condone violence. They advocate for violence. And then when violence happens, they act shocked. It's ridiculous. So, talking about the PLO not coming to America, Hamas being a terrorist organization. We're going to kind of talk about that a little more in depth. And like I said, I wish we didn't have to talk about this anymore. I wish anti-Semitism wasn't an issue. But it will be. As long as there's rich white kids with too much free time on their hands, there will be anti-Semitism. I don't know if you heard about this. This gentleman was Ian Weiss, was discovered. His body was discovered during an operation in the Gaza Strip. Apparently he died on October 7th when they did the initial attack, and they found his remains. So he was killed by Hamas. He just wasn't killed in captivity. He was killed prior to becoming a hostage. I don't understand why they would have taken a dead body. I'm not going to speculate because it's a human being, but I think there's more to that story than we're going to know. And who knows? Maybe there isn't. I just don't understand why they would have taken a dead body with them. That's just me. And he's not the first hostage that has been killed or found. His remains have been found a lot. And I don't want to get into it because it's a horrible thing. But there are people out there in Facebook land and X land and probably the cubicle next to you at work or driving behind you or sitting next to you at lunch that firmly believe the Jews need to die, that there is no problem with this man's death or the other hostages have been killed and that Israel should be wiped off the mat and all Jews are bad. Those people are everywhere. And you'd be shocked at who they are. If there's like a sign above everybody's head that only other people could see, you would be shocked where you'd see the anti-Semite sign over who that person would be. You'd be shocked. It's fashionable now to be anti-Semitic because let's be honest, most Jews are white. So it's okay to pick on white people. And there are some self-hating Jews out there. I don't understand that. These are probably the same type of Jews that support Hamas in Palestine would have turned Anne Frank into the Nazis had they known where she was hiding. Same caliber of person. So let's go a little history lesson and we'll get into it more. Hamas-led militants killed about 1,300 people, mostly civilians, and took 251 hostages on the October 7th attack. I think the big thing was at a music festival and some kibbutzes. But yeah, the ensuing war has killed more than 63,000 Palestinians in Gaza, mostly women and children, according to the Gaza Health Ministries. And we all know that they're just the epitome of honesty and transparency. The Gaza's health ministry. You want to compare something to the SS? There you go. Gaza's health ministry is no better than the SS. They just propaganda bullshit, making stuff up. The ministry doesn't distinguish between civilians and combatants. So what does that mean? So you might have like 4,000 civilians dead and the rest are combatants, but they'll never tell you that because they don't distinguish. It's the bodies. Bullshit. They know exactly how many military people have been killed or combatants have been killed. And it's probably not as many as we think. So they've got to just put them all together and say 63,000 people. And I don't believe that either. I don't believe anything these people have to say. Maybe I'm jaded, but I don't believe a word they have to say. Total hostages captured during October 7th was 251, and there were 4 or 5 Americans in that group too. Hostages taken before October 7th was a total of, hold on, I got it written down, 4. So prior to October 7th, there were a total of 4 to 10 hostages taken prior to October 7th, when they took 251 and 4 Americans. Now, if you remember when that happened, Biden did absolutely dick to get our people back. Didn't say a word, didn't do nothing, condemned Israel for what they were doing to get hostages back. But as far as anybody knew, he did nothing behind the scenes to try and get our people back. That should sum him up. Well, then again, he's the same man that got people killed in Afghanistan because he's an idiot. So I'm not like, again, when you look at people's past, what they do in the present shouldn't surprise you because people are creatures of habit. They repeat the same thing and over. Biden was a fuck up, got Americans killed in Afghanistan. Why are we shocked that he got Americans taken hostage in Israel and did nothing to get them back? Why should that surprise anybody? It shouldn't. It shouldn't. The man's had dementia and was more concerned about his leg hair and corn pop than anything else. Those were his concerns. So yeah, before October 7th, a total of 4 to 10 hostages have been taken. After that, 251. A lot of them have been killed or were killed during the hostage taking. Taking hostages is barbaric. It's against the Geneva Convention, or non-combatant hostages is against the Geneva Convention. You're not supposed to do that. And it's obvious that these people don't follow the Geneva Convention. I don't think very many countries do anymore. A lot of countries pay it lip service. If you're not familiar with the Geneva Convention, it's when all the countries got together, I believe, after World War I and came up with the rules of war. Yeah, there are rules to war. Can't use chemical, biological weapons anymore, things like that. Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't, but in general, it's funny when you say rules to war. War is horrible to begin with. How do you try to make it less horrible? Anyway, so obviously these people don't follow the Geneva Convention, and they don't wear uniforms, and they hide in hospitals and schools and communities, so it's hard for anybody to pick them out. So yes, the way they've decided to fight the war means there's going to be collateral damage. I think Israel has done an exceptional job of trying to check their fire. If they were really, really committing genocide, that 63,000 number, which we all know is bullet, let's call it what it is. Let's say 20,000. That sounds a little bit more reasonable. 20,000 people would be like 200,000 people. They'd be stacking bodies like cordwood on the side of the street. They'd be going through communities just laying waste to everybody. They're not. They are trying to preserve life when they can. But they're fighting an enemy that has no regard for life, no respect for life. Obviously, they've taken 251 hostages, killed some of them, or let some of them die before they took them. So you can't fight an enemy like that conventionally because you're going to lose. They have no problem hiding behind school kids. They have no problem using schools and mosques and hospitals as bases of operation, which again is against the Geneva Convention. So if that's where you're hiding, that's where they got to come get you. I have no problem with it, what Israel's done. None at all. I think Israel's been too soft. I don't think there should be any talk of a ceasefire until all the hostages are home. Whether they're alive or the remains are collected, there should be no talk of a ceasefire. Hamas, PLO, whoever else, they are not productive members of society. They bring nothing to the table. They do nothing for their communities. They are a cancer in this world that thrive on murder and mayhem, slavery and second-class citizens, and they should be exterminated with prejudice. There should be no talk of a ceasefire. There should be no talk of, well, where should we let them live? They should be killed. Killed. They have no problem killing Jews. They got no problem killing Americans. They got no problem killing their own people. You can't live near or with somebody who at the drop of a hat could decide that you're a non-believer and they're going to kill you. You will never know where you stand with that person because they're dishonest to begin with. They need to be eliminated. Not just because they're bad people or because they're murderers, because the rest of the world will be a better place if they were no longer in it. It's that simple. And I don't know why people, maybe they do behind closed doors. Maybe they're like, yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. Yeah. And at cocktail parties, oh no, Israel's horrible. They shouldn't be doing it. Why are they trying to hide or defend themselves? That's not right. Here are some of the hostages that have died. Some of the 251 of them, here are some of them. These people were minding their own business. Some of them were at a music festival. And they're dead. Because some religious fanatics don't agree with the God they pray to or how they pray to him. Israel didn't attack them. Israel didn't invade their country and kill 1,200 of their civilians. Israel let them alone. Israel supplies them electricity. Israel supplies them water, food, allows them to freely come into Israel for medicine, for schooling, for employment. They have mosques in Israel that the government funds so they don't go out of business. Guess how many synagogues are in Gaza? None. Guess how many Jews live in Gaza? None. Guess how many Muslims live in Israel? I think it was like 1 million. And they're allowed to practice a religion freely. Name me one Muslim country where you can go to as a Christian, a Buddhist, a Jew, a Catholic, start a church and pray the way you want to pray in their countries with no repercussions. You can't name one because they won't let it happen. This is what we're fighting. This is what we should be angry about. Not Israel defending itself. Not Israel going, you know what, we've had enough. This is it. We're going to do what we got to do to support, to save our country and our people. Hostages released in exchanges or other deals, 148, of which 8 were dead. Bodies of hostages retrieved by Israeli forces during operations, 51. Hostages rescued alive, 8. Hostages still in captivity, about 48, of which the Israeli military believes only 20 are still alive. Non-Israel hostages in captivity, 4. 2 Thai nationals, 1 Tanzanian, who have both been confirmed dead, and 1 Nepalese national. As of late August 2025, Israeli officials estimate that at least 83 hostages taken by Hamas on October 7, 2023 have been confirmed killed. This total includes both bodies that have been recovered and those believed to be dead but whose remains are still in Gaza. That's what we're fighting, folks. That's what Israel's fighting. If you don't think Israel's fighting for us, you're stupid. If you're one of those inbred, mouth-breathing knuckle draggers on Facebook that thinks Israel's the bad guy, number one, you're uneducated, and I'll tell you that. You're probably the result of an incestuous relationship in your family at some point, and you're a mouth breather. You don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot, and you are a cancer. You're aiding and giving comfort to the enemy. You're helping a terrorist organization. You're supporting them. I don't know what people expect any country to do. If I were the president of this country and the Canadians rushed in and killed 1,200 of my people and took 257 hostages, I would parking lot the entire country. It'd be that simple. It wouldn't take me weeks to do it. I would do it immediately. And there would be no talk of a ceasefire until all my people were released. We're not talking about it. We're not even going to entertain it. We're not going to think about it. We're not even going to write it down, put it in an envelope and put it in a drawer. We're not doing anything but killing you. And we're not going to stop killing you until my hostages are released. And if you start killing hostages, I'm going to kill more of you. It's that simple. So what's more important? Keeping my people hostage or saving your people's lives? That's your choice. And I would not stop until my people were let go. Not stop. It's that simple. That's what Israel's doing. They're not going to stop until the hostages are released, and we should be applauding that effort because there were 4 of our people there that they were fighting for, too, to get them released. While our government sat with their thumbs up their ass and did nothing except condemn Israel for what they were doing. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing. Nothing. I don't believe it's overkill. It's like if you're a bully and you go pick on somebody who's 4 times your size and they beat the teeth out of your mouth. Is it their fault for fighting back? Or is it your fault for being stupid enough to pick on somebody bigger than you? I think if you're stupid enough to pick on someone bigger than you, you deserve to lose all your teeth. And I've said before, Israel showed great restraint because if they were really trying to commit genocide, this war would have been over in a few weeks. They would have started at one end and just worked their way down and killed everybody they could find. But they didn't. They are trying to preserve as much life as they possibly can, fighting an enemy that uses people as shields, that uses schools as bases of operations, that spent the money that was given to them by Israel and other countries for infrastructure and food. They've used that to make tunnels. That's who they're fighting. And I don't want to hear, well, a majority of people in Gaza don't agree with the war. Bullshit. They interviewed 71% agreed with what happened on October 7th. They felt it was necessary. So I don't want to hear about the innocent people. If they're innocent, they'd have got out. But they didn't. They could have gone to Israel. Israel would have let them come. But they didn't. We're talking about a country that launches rockets into Israel willy-nilly. Even when things are going good, they just launch rockets into Israel. How many rockets do you think this country would have let Mexico fire into Texas before we got pissed off and went down to Mexico and kicked some ass? How many rockets do you think we'd allow to be fired into our country? 1, 2, 400? How many? I guarantee you 1. And then we'd be down there kicking ass. No country in the world will let that happen as much as Israel does. But Israel's condemned when they fight back. They're the bad guys. When they say enough's enough. They're the ones that are being held, has their feet held to the fire. Not these terrorist organizations. Not the murderers. Not the ones taking hostages. They're not being held accountable. Israel is. It's because anti-Semitism is alive and well. And you don't have to believe me. You can think I'm making it up. Jump on Facebook. it won't be long before you find some anti-Semitic post with thousands of people agreeing with it. It's everywhere. It's prevalent. And it's disgusting. Especially when you got, 84 more people living in hell. I can't imagine being a hostage of a terrorist organization, especially if you're Jewish and they don't like Jews and they don't like Israelis and you're both. I can't imagine that it's very pleasant. I can't imagine they're adhering to the Geneva Convention rules on prisoners of war. I don't think they are. And that's horrible. And what's even more horrible, there are people out there supporting the ones holding hostages and not the hostages. How far as a society, how far as a race have we sunk into the toilet to where we're defending and trying to explain away terrorists? It wasn't that long ago that people in this country would find terrorists and kill them, and they would be heroes. Or that we would look for them, hunt them down, and eliminate them, and that would be heroic. It wasn't that long ago. But we've come full circle, and now it's not cool to defend your people. It's not cool to kill terrorism. It's not cool to do any of that. You're supposed to just sit back and take it and smile. And then you hear about the Gaza. There's starvation going on rampant. And then every time I look at the news or I watch something on Facebook about somebody being over in Gaza, there's like fields of food, canned food on pallets stacked up behind fences, or there's trucks waiting to get in. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And then you watch the videos of these people in Gaza, like laying under rubble. And they're not hurt. It's Hollywood. And people buy it. You can see the same kid dead 5 different ways in a week on videos on Facebook. It's not true. It's not true. Do I think some innocent people have died? Yes. I know 1,200 of them died in Israel. And I'm sure 1,000 or a few thousand more have died in Gaza. But whose fault is that? Whose fault? Ultimately, who's responsible for that? It's Hamas and all of its supporters. That's who's responsible. If they didn't invade and kill 1,200 civilians and take 251 people hostage, we would not be here talking about this right now. This would be a moot point because it never would have happened. It's really that simple. You can try to make up explanations on why Israel deserves what's happening to them or how it's all their fault and they're colonizers and they're committing genocide. At the end of the day, the facts don't support any of that. And if you got an IQ above a flip-flop, you know it, and you don't buy into their bullshit, and you shouldn't. Just like the morons in D.C. marching against Trump putting in the National Guard to enforce law. They're not really enforcing law. They're not enforcing papers. You don't have to show ID. They're walking around with police officers to augment the force that's already there. That's all they're doing, and people are pissed off about that. Let them be pissed off. Let them be pissed off. I don't care at this point anymore what pisses them off. What concerns me is when they're not pissed off. Like, what have we done wrong that they like that we can't do again because they're happy? Because if they're happy, something's going wrong and it's going to hurt the country because that's the only time they're happy. So, yeah, someone asked me once, well, how do you fight anti-Semitism? Well, do you educate people? I mean, can you talk to them? We've done that for decades. We've tried talking to them. There's Holocaust museums, there's movies, there's books, there's everything that tells people, hey, just leave Israel alone. They got Israel, that's all they want. Leave them alone. Leave the Jews alone. You don't bother them, they're not going to bother you. So, that doesn't work. These people can't be educated. They don't want to hear facts. They want to be led by their emotions. So there's one of two things you can do. You can completely ignore them and shun them from society. And every time you see them, point them out so everybody knows who the racist anti-Semite is. And hopefully they'll be shunned from their communities and go off to die in the woods somewhere. Or, and I'm not advocating violence, you call them out. And you know what I mean. We can't let this fester. We can't let this just boil under the surface and spread. It has to be stopped immediately. Because it's only gotten worse. Like I've said, it hasn't gotten any better. It's gotten worse. Incrementally worse. They're still keeping Jewish kids from going to some schools in college. The other students don't let them in. Why? Why? because nobody pushes back. Nobody stands up to these people and goes, if you don't move so I can get to class, you're going to look real funny eating corn on the cob with no teeth. Move out of my way. They don't do that. They stand there and let these idiots push them around. It's got to stop. Nothing wrong with standing up for yourself. Nothing at all. And that's what needs to happen. But it's not happening, or it's not happening enough. And it's sad that you got kids that are putting up with this. You've got teachers that are giving Jewish kids a hard time. I talked about that, I think it was last weekend in Baltimore County. Teachers giving the Nazi salute, or kids giving the Nazi salute, and they have Team Auschwitz and Team Hamas when they do things in school. And they tell Jewish kids to go to the gas chamber. And nothing happens to these students. Nothing. That's got to aggravate you. Even if you're not Jewish, it should piss you off that there are kids doing this. And what should piss you off even more is that this isn't behavior that's just inborn. It's taught. It's a learned behavior. So these kids who are spewing that bullshit are learning it from home because their parents are probably anti-Semitic, racist losers that are just a waste of oxygen. And then the teachers that do it are just products of the colleges that teach that it's okay to do that. Enough's enough. We need to stand up and start telling people, that's it. We're not doing this anymore. You're done. But we won't. And I don't know why. And like I've said, if you're a Jewish kid going to college and you're having troubles getting to your class, get a hold of me. I'll help you. I'll take that charge that you're afraid to take. I'm 53. I don't care. I'll do what I got to do to get you into class. And I guarantee you, they won't mess with you again. And I've got friends that will be more than glad to help me do it. So, again, if you're a Jewish student having problems getting to school, contact me. We'll figure something out. All right. Got to feed the beast. I'll be right back.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
So yeah, remember, check out the other shows on the network. You got Damon the Hammer Galdo and all sorts of people. Check them out. Like I said, they're really good. They're worth the time, and they know what they're talking about. Really good people. And of course, you got me. You're like at the B team now if you're watching me. But I thank you for watching me. If you've never been here before, awesome. Hang out. Hope you like it. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. Obviously, you like it, or you're a glutton for punishment, one of the two. But I thank you anyway. And again, we have the chat. If you've got anything you want to say, post it over there. Fred Profiter's blowing up the chat right now. So if you got something to say, pipe up. Nothing wrong with it. So I know you're all aware, and I debated on talking about this again. I don't want to talk about it too much because I feel it cheapens it, and that's just my opinion. Some things should only be talked about once and then put away because it's that important. You don't need to beat it like a dead horse. You talk about it and you move on. But we know in Minnesota, a subhuman piece of trash killed 2 children and wounded 17 others, I believe. And some of them are still in critical condition at the hospital they're at, which is in itself very sad. His name was Robert. I'm not going to call him Robin. I don't care if he had his name legally changed or what. His name was Robert Westman, I believe. And I'm not going to say that name again because he doesn't deserve to be mentioned ever again in society. He should be buried in a shallow, unmarked grave somewhere in the woods that no one will ever find again. And that would be the end of him. But he went into a Catholic church in school, Annunciation, I believe it was called, and killed two kids. We're going to get to that here in a minute. And wounded 17 others. And again, let me show you this fool. This gentleman was upset that people were, this idiot right here, the mayor, Mayor Jacob Fry, was upset that people were attacking him because he was transgender. That was his concern. It was so concerning to him, he had to talk about it. He just couldn't let it go. It had to be said. It was weighing on him so much that he wanted to let the people know that him being transgendered has nothing to do with him being crazy as a shithouse rat. One thing has nothing to do with the other. Move along. There's nothing to see here. We're all going to be okay. Now, I'm not in the FBI, but I would call this a clue. You have the Denver shooter, transgender. The Aberdeen shooter, transgender. Nashville shooter, transgender. The Georgia shooter, trans. Philadelphia, trans. Iowa, gender fluid. Then you have Colorado, Minnesota, and Uvalde, all trans. There's a pattern emerging. If you can't see it, then you're willfully blind to it. Am I saying they're the only people that commit these shootings? No, I'm not saying it. But what I'm saying is to say that transgender has nothing to do with the violence is incorrect. There is a pattern emerging, and it's not a good one. I don't know if you've seen the video that Freak put out prior to the shooting. It's very disturbing. We showed it, some of it, on the Pulse on Wednesday night at 8:30 or 8 o'clock. I'm sorry, we showed it then, played a little bit of it. Very disturbing. The dude obviously, beyond thinking he's a woman, has mental issues, had mental issues. He killed himself, so that's good. The video just kind of reaffirms that. I mean, he's got a picture of a silhouette target with a picture of Jesus Christ taped to the head. He's got things written down on the clips everywhere. The guy is, it's better that he's dead. I'm glad he's dead. You should be glad he's dead. You shouldn't mourn the loss of that animal. But to say that transgenderism has nothing to do with violence is wrong. And I'm sure there's more than what I've just shown you as far as violence committed by transgender people. I mean, you can't be a normal person thinking, well, let me correct that. There's body dysmorphia, where people think that they're in the wrong body. And I think that happens like 1% of 1% of 1% of the population. It's infrequent. So barring someone who suffers from that, and again, like 1% of everybody, barring that, it's a mental illness. And how do I know it's a mental illness? Because these people will voluntarily disfigure their bodies. They will remove healthy body parts because they think or they feel like they're another sex. If my son came to me today and said, Dad, I think I'm a woman, and I want to start dressing like a woman, I would get him help immediately. I would let a priest, a social worker, or somebody who's schooled in that talk to them first to see what they thought before I started giving him puberty blockers or scheduling surgery to have his genitalia whacked off. Before any of that happened, I would want to talk to somebody, and I'd want to talk to him too. But this freak's parents brought him to court and had his name changed. They enabled this sick motherfucker. They enabled him. And nobody wakes up one day and says, hey, I'm going to go on a shooting spree. This had been building for years. He even said he was unhappy and depressed and had been suicidal and had these murderous thoughts forever. So his parents either ignored it or chose to think it was a phase, and did nothing, warned nobody, didn't seek him any help other than getting his name changed so he could have a girl's name rather than the boy's name. So they enabled it. And through their complete and utter lack of parental guidance, allowed this to happen. Am I blaming the parents solely? No. I'm not blaming them solely, but they have some blame they need to shoulder as well. If you're that far removed from your child that you don't know that they're having murderous thoughts or trying to commit suicide, you have a mental problem as well, and you shouldn't be a parent. I said it, so that offends people. So this has been going on for a while in building. They allowed him to buy weapons. Didn't say, nah, maybe, let's hold off on that for a little bit. Let's go talk to somebody. They allowed him to buy weapons and ammo and all sorts of things. This guy idolized previous school shooters. So he didn't just wake up the morning of and go, hey, I'm going to go kill people today. He had planned it. His mother used to work at the school. He attended the school. This had all been planned out. This wasn't a spur of the moment. He snapped, and this is what he did. He'd planned this out. And again, his parents had to have known or had to have an idea or had to have seen a red flag at some point during this whole fiasco and did nothing about it. I don't know. If my son has a cold and starting to feel sick, I can tell something's wrong. And I'm sure you can as parents too. Your kid wakes up and they're starting to get, come down with something. You just know something's off. Or if they've had a bad day at school, you know something's off. You can just tell. There's that thing that every parent has that they go, oh, there's something wrong. I should talk to him or her. So his parents either ignored it, like I said, or just didn't care. Well, screw it, whatever. I don't know. I have to imagine, and I'm sure I'm right, that this monster was just a miserable human being. I don't think he experienced joy or laughed. And again, none of this was a red flag to his parents. They didn't see any danger lurking. Maybe they were just as miserable as he was. I don't know. My point is, things like this don't happen overnight. This takes time to fester and metastasize. Just like with any other trans person. It doesn't happen overnight. They've got to think about it and do about it. And if you read the stats, suicide rates for trans people don't drop after they've gone through the surgery. They don't drop. There are people now who've transitioned that want to retransition back to what they were. It's a mental illness, and you're treating it like you'd treat a broken arm, and you're putting a Band-Aid on it. It's not doing anything. Just because these people want to transition doesn't mean they should. Parents need to start being parents. We all know the parents I'm talking about. You probably got them in your neighborhood. The social justice, woke sons of bitches that let their kids do whatever they want to do because they don't want to be helicopter parents. Their kid comes and says, I want to be a girl. Okay, Johnny, let's go to the doctor, start pumping you full of poison. And we'll start calling you Jenny at the age of 7 or 8. Those are the parents that create these monsters. And if that offends you, it offends you. I'll sleep just fine tonight. If you're allowing children to make decisions that will affect the rest of their lives based on a feeling they have at the age of 10, you're an idiot. And you shouldn't have children. And that's what these parents did with this monster. They enabled it. They coddled him. They acquiesced to all his fantasies. And look what happened. It didn't make him a better person. Didn't make him happy. Didn't make him a productive member of society. It made him a fucking monster. A goddamn subhuman who wouldn't kill children and shot at elderly people and more children. That's what that kind of parenting gets you. The parenting I had where you get your ass beat if you screw up or you back talk. Or when you do something good, you're praised and your parents love you because you can feel the love because they're disciplining you. Love is a sign of discipline. If I don't care about you, I don't care what you do. Go play in traffic. Go drink bleach. I don't care. You mean nothing to me. I don't care what you do. If I love you, then I'm going to correct you because I don't want to see you get hurt or get in trouble. So all these parents out there that think doing whatever their kid asks them to do because the kid has a feeling about something, you don't love them. That isn't love, and you're not going to convince me that it is. Love is saying no sometimes. Love is correcting incorrect behavior. That's what love is. It's not bringing your kid to court and changing their name legally to a girl's name because they think they're a woman. That's not love. That's throwing your hands up saying, I don't care. Or you just agree with them. And, yeah, I think you're a girl. So poor parenting, I'm sure, played a part in this. And I said it, and that's how I feel. That's probably 5% of the problem. The other 95% is squarely on that sons of bitch's shoulders that shot at those people. 95% of it is him. Now, 99% is him, 1% is his parents. There's no excuse for what he did. I'm not trying to make excuses. But what we need to start doing is we need to start treating these people like science experiments and dissecting what they do and trying to find out a pattern or find out a trigger other than being mentally ill, thinking they're a woman when they're a man or a man when they're a woman. Something beyond that. And I'm not saying all trans people are dangerous. They're not. But there's a pattern emerging. And we can't ignore that pattern. We can't ignore it because it might be offensive to them or because I may look like a transphobe. I don't care. I would rather err on the side of caution and start dissecting this, looking at these people and finding out what makes them tick than see other children killed because one of these people loses their shit and goes on a killing spree again. I would rather offend them to protect lives. We'll see if that happens. Now, like I said, there were 2 people killed, two children killed. Fletcher Merkel, who's 8, and Harper, and I don't want to mess his last name up, Moisky, who's 10. They were killed by that pathetic excuse for a human being. I believe, if I remember correctly reading, Harper was killed trying to protect his friend. I think he laid on top of him when the monster came in shooting and took bullets for his friend. That's a hero. That's a hero. There's no other way to describe him other than hero. His parents, parents of the children killed in the Annunciation Catholic School shooting speak out. Jesse Merkel, his son Fletcher, loved his family, friends. He loved fishing and cooking and any sport he was allowed to play. Please remember Fletcher for the person he was and not the act that ended his life. Merkel read from a statement at a news conference outside the church. He mourned that he would never get to see Fletcher become a man because of the monster that took his life. While the hole in our hearts and lives will never be filled, I hope that in time our family can find healing. I pray that the other victims' families can find some semblance of the same, Merkel said. He thanked the students and adults in the church for their heroic actions, without whom the tragedy would have been even worse. Moisky's parents, Michael and Jackie, released a statement saying that Harper's a she. She was a bright, joyful, and deeply loved girl whose laughter, kindness, and spirit touched everyone. They said they are shattered by unspeakable grief and said that they hope her memory will fuel some action. So a young lady and a young boy were killed because this sick bastard just couldn't deal with reality. And rather, like anybody else, go get help, he decided to kill people who had nothing to do with his miserable, piss-poor existence. Take out his frustration on them. I am usually, well, no, I don't want to say that because that'll get me in trouble. It's just sad that someone didn't end that monster's life days before he did this. Why didn't he just take his own life? Why didn't he make some grand stage and like put a bullet in his head in the middle of rush hour so everybody could see it? That would, do that. Don't take people out with you because you're too afraid to die alone, because you're a coward and you're mentally ill and you should have been locked up months ago in an asylum or on the 13th floor in a padded room with an I love me jacket on. We need to stop worrying about offending people in this country. We need to stop worrying about, being labeled by the left as a racist or homophobe or transphobe. We need to get over that, because if somebody had the intestinal fortitude, and the people talked about this kid in his class. He was throwing up Nazi salutes and was just an all-around piece of shit, apparently. I'm trying to find those notes I have about him. 1 second. Let me see if I can find them. Here we go. There were people that talked about him his school, people that went to school with him. And I'm trying to find that because it's pretty revealing about him and what his prior classmates said about him. And of course, now I can't find it. Of course, because, that's how things work. Here we go. No. So he apparently one of his classmates that went to school with him said he would walk around throwing the Nazi salute up, being verbally abusive to people at school, just an all-around piece of shit. So, like I said, there were signs that this kid had issues, and nobody addressed it because they're afraid to offend him, or his parents are going to get in trouble. If somebody wasn't so worried about offending him and maybe put his ass up around his shoulders or grounded him or whatever it is, maybe that would have saved these two people's lives. Maybe Fletcher and Harper would still be here if his parents were parents and not idiots, lazy, and did nothing. Maybe they did some parenting stuff. These people would still be alive. We'll never know. The only good thing that comes out of this, like I said, is that man took his life, and we don't have to deal with him. We don't have to support him for the next 90 years in prison. The only good thing he's done in his life is when he put a bullet in his own head. That was the only redeemable action he's ever done, is taking his own worthless life, so we're not responsible for him anymore. It would have been nice if we could kill him twice, but we can't. But he's dead. And dead is dead, and I can live with that. And like I said, I hope he's buried in a shallow grave in the middle of nowhere, and that people who need to urinate or drop a deuce know where his graveyard is and go there to do that, because that's all he's worth. Piss and shit. That is all he's worth. I mean, I feel sorry for the parents. I mean, and also the other 17 people who were shot and haven't died. Can you imagine how their life's going to be now? Talk about PTSD. I mean, these are kids. Some things kids can bounce back from. They're very resilient. But there's some things like this, it's going to take years to get over. Some of them may never get over it. This monster is going to live on in the trauma he's caused these people, which is horrible. It's sad. I mean, no school shooting is nuts. They're all sad. And I'm not saying this is more sad than any of the others. I'm just saying I'm looking at this because there's a pattern. There's a pattern starting to emerge. And we ignore that pattern at our own peril. If we ignore it because we don't want to be rude or we don't want to offend people, we are setting ourselves up for horrible disappointment down the road. It's right there. Right there. So, be a parent. If you think your child's having a hard time, get them help. Talk to them yourself. Do something. Don't ignore it. It's just a phase you're going to get through. Do what you got to do to save your son or your daughter, because in doing so, you might save other people. Parenting is a hard job. No one ever said it would be easy. It takes effort. Got to get your hands dirty. It's worth it. Maybe if this idiot had parents that were real parents, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Like I said, we could speculate and play the what-if game all night long. At the end of the day, that monster took the lives of innocent people, and he killed himself. And they're looking for a motive. I don't care what the motive is. People died. The people should care about the motive. The motive would be forensic psychologists, police departments, the FBI, anybody who does law enforcement. They should care about the motive and figure out why or how he got there. Too bad he killed himself, because they could have taken him in, given him life in prison, and again, treated him like a laboratory rat and just dissected everything he did. Let him live under a microscope. Let him be the guinea pig. Study people like him. Find out what makes them tick. Maybe we can get some knowledge from them that will save people's lives down the road. Who knows? Maybe it won't, maybe it will, but either way, we get the piece of shit off the street, and maybe some good can come from it. I don't know. So yeah, remember these two. Remember their families. Say a little prayer for them tonight. Light a candle for them if you're Catholic. Whatever it is you do to remember good people, going too early. Here are two good people that are deserved of your prayers. And even though that'll piss people off, because prayers don't do anything. You're wasting time. Pray for them and their family. I don't understand why people get offended Oh, they're praying for him. They're not doing anything. That's ridiculous. You know what? Mind your own business. Doesn't hurt anybody. Doesn't hurt you. Doesn't cost you money. If someone wants to pray for these people, let them pray. Just shut your goddamn mouth and move on down the line. Go hug a tree or wash your electric car, whatever it is you do. Just shut up. Just really, like I said, I'm sick of hearing about liberals and what they have to say or what they think about anything because they're all goddamn crazy as shit. And for the liberals, I kept this on, and I'll probably keep it on for another couple of weeks just to make sure they understand what's going on. It's called the flow chart. Trump is not my president. And again, I'll walk everybody through it. Is Donald Trump your president? Are you a U.S. citizen? If you say no, then you are correct. Donald Trump is not your president. You can carry on. If you answer yes, the next question is, do you like him and did you vote for him? Legitimate question. Let's move this over here. Yes, I voted for him. Then Donald Trump is your president. No, I hate him. Donald Trump is your president. If you live in this country, he's your president. It's that simple. You can spew all the, well, he's not my president. I didn't vote for him. It doesn't change anything. He's your president. Suck it up. And wishing for your president to fail, like I've said before, is like wishing the captain who's flying your plane to crash. Why would you want that? I don't care who the president is. I want them to do good because if they do good, we do good. The country does good. We all benefit. I may not like the president like Biden or Obama. I don't even really like George Bush. I may not like them. I may disagree with what they do, but I don't wish them to fail because if they fail, we all fail. I like these idiots who are on Facebook hoping the president Trump dies. Like I keep looking at the obit, see his name there so I can go dance, or I hope someone, next time they shoot, they shouldn't miss, or whatever other verbal diarrhea they spew from their mouths. I have never wished death on any president. Like I said, I may not like them. I may not agree with their policies. I may think they're a fucking moron, but I have never wished death on any president. And I don't wish death on anybody. At the very most, what I wish for, if I hate you enough to think that, what I wish for you is that you have a horrible case of explosive diarrhea, a bad cough, and are stuck in traffic in your car with your boss. That's the worst I will wish on anybody. That. I don't wish death. That's horrible. Hating someone that much is like drinking poison, like you drinking poison and waiting for them to die. That's how much sense it makes. I don't hate anybody that much. And like I said, I'd rather you have explosive diarrhea locked in a car with a bad cough than anything else. That's not going to kill you, but it's definitely going to ruin your day. And if your boss is in the car with you, it's going to ruin his day too. But you're going to be fine. After the embarrassment and you take a shower and you wash your ass off, you're going to be fine. That's what I wish on people that I don't like or piss me off. But I don't wish death on anybody. And if you believe in karma, whatever you put out comes back to you. So, all you people on Facebook who are wishing for death for the president, you're an idiot. And again, I hope you have explosive diarrhea with a really bad cough stuck in traffic. That's my wish for you. Merry Christmas. And this is still in the news. You know what? I don't know if you've heard about it. I'm sure you have. There's something. Some people say it's a comet. Other people are saying it's a mothership coming to attack. It's hurtling through our galaxy, coming towards us. Should be here in November. They're saying there are people, Harvard professors, who said it's a good chance it's a mother alien ship coming to attack us. People at NASA say, no, it's a comet. We're fine. Either way, who cares? If it's a comet, they're saying it's not going to hit our planet. And if it's an alien race, it's advanced enough to travel to our planet from their planet. What are we going to do? We can't fight them. They'll take us over. They'll enslave us. We'll be slaves to the insect people of planet blah, 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 9. Nothing we can do about it. So why are we even wasting time? And NASA talking about it and Harvard professors talking about it. Why? What do I think it is? I don't know. Don't care. If it's not going to hit the planet, and if it is, like I said, it's an alien race, we can't fight them anyway because they're obviously very advanced. I don't care. I'll deal with it when the time comes. And if it is a comet that hits our planet, we've already seen what happens when that happens. Look at the dinosaurs. We might see a pretty bright flash depending on where it hits, and then we're all going to die. Is that something I'm hoping for? No, but I don't care. And I'm sure you're all sick of hearing about it too if you're on Facebook or X. I'm tired of it. Let it be whatever it's going to be. Nothing we can do to change it. Why waste our time worried about it? That's my point. And I'm also thinking maybe it is an alien race and we're like the zoo and they're just going to do a flyby so they can look at us. Because if I were an alien race, this is the last planet I'd want to come to meet because we're all just a bunch of assholes. We're fighting. We got people that don't think they're a boy when they're a boy or a girl when they're a girl. We're shooting people. We're letting criminals do what they want to do. We're condemning people for defending themselves. We've got morons in positions of authority that should not be in positions of authority that are running their cities and their states into the ground. Why would they want to stop and talk to us? What could we possibly give them that would make them go, hey, we're passing Earth. Y'all want to stop? I got to go to the bathroom. No, go past. It's a shithole. Don't stop there. Yeah, we'll stop at Mars. What could we possibly offer any alien race? We can't even get along with ourselves. You think they're going to want to stop and talk to us? Come on. Be real. Do I think there's aliens? Yeah, I'm like 80% sure. I mean, the universe is massive. And to think that we're the only intelligent beings in the entire universe is pretty conceited. I mean, I don't agree with that. Too much, that'd be an awful waste of space if we're the only people here. And I don't believe we are. But do I think they're more advanced than us? Maybe not. Maybe they're just as equal as we are. We'll never meet each other. We'll never know about the other person forever. Or maybe they are very advanced. And like I said, they're driving by looking at the intergalactic zoo and going, ooh, what a bunch of savages. And then going about their business. I don't think they're ever going to stop and talk to us. I really don't. And I don't believe there's, well, they have. There's aliens at Area 51. There's aliens in the White House. There's aliens. I don't think so. I really don't. Because like I said, if they're that advanced that they can get to us from their planet, we're like ants to them. Literally, that's how they would look at us, like an ant. I don't hate ants. I don't like ants. I'm indifferent about ants. There's nothing an ant can show me that I think would make my life better. And I think that's how they view us. Yeah, they're there. Don't hate them. Don't like them. Just keep going. We could be like the rednecks of the universe. We could be like the trailer park of the universe. And nobody wants to stop here because we're rednecks. Like, don't stop there. Don't. Go to Mars or go to Jupiter, or go to Alpha Centauri, whatever. But don't stop there. Like they roll their windows up when they pass our planet and they lock their doors. Hide the wallets. I mean, I really don't think they'd stop it. We're not that interesting. No matter how important we think we are or how great we are, we're really not that interesting. And that includes me too. I'm not just saying you, I'm saying everybody. We're not that interesting. That they would travel light years to come here and then talk to us. What are they going to talk to us about? Professional wrestling? I mean, what could we offer them? You see what I mean? When you say it out loud, it's kind of like, All right, well, before we wrap the show up, I want to thank, again, everybody who's watching now or watching later, all 5 of you who decided to hang out, which is great. Again, I'm floored that any of you actually want to spend time with me on a Sunday night. It's incredible. I'm very humbled by it. I don't take it lightly. It's very nice. I don't know how else to say it. It's very nice. But usually at the end of my show, what I do is I read an opinion about something. And then sometimes it has to do with the show. Sometimes it's completely arbitrary. This one is about something about the show. And I want to read it to you. And once again, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to do anything like that. But I want to share it with you nonetheless. Let me find it. I'm having a lot of technical difficulties tonight. It's getting really weird. So I'm going to look for it. Hopefully I can find it. But if not, I'll wing it. I can do that. I'm pretty good at winging stuff. I try not to because It's not always the best thing to do, wing something always messes up. Then problems happen, and then before you know it, cats are lying with dogs and all sorts of things. So, there we go. Oh, why is this not loading up? See, I put everything on my iPhone, which is probably stupid. I shouldn't do that. It's not a good thing to do. Here we go. Robert Westman is not a victim, not a misunderstood soul, not a product of circumstance. He is a vile, cowardly murderer who chose to slaughter innocent children and worshipers in Minneapolis church on August 27th, 2025. The blood of 2 dead children and the agony of 17 wounded, including elderly parishioners, lies squarely on his wretched hands. This wasn't a tragedy born of external forces. It was a deliberate, despicable act by a pathetic individual who embraced hatred, planned destruction, and executed it with spineless cruelty. Westman alone is responsible for this horror, and his name deserves to be synonymous with shame and condemnation. Long before he pulled the trigger, he was already rotting from within. As a middle schooler at St. Agnes Catholic School, he wasn't just a troubled kid, he was a menace, hurling verbal abuse at classmates, flashing Nazi salutes when teachers weren't looking, and obsessing over Adolf Hitler and mass shootings, according to former classmate Josephine Sanchez. These weren't innocent missteps. They were the conscious choice of a budding monster who found joy in cruelty and idolizing the worst of humanity. Westman didn't stumble into his darkness. He sought it out, reveled in the sick fantasy of emulating genocidal tyrants and school shooters. Every salute, every fixation on past killers was a brick in the path he built to massacre. Let's call it what it is. He was a coward who hid behind hateful symbols and violent fantasies to mask his own insignificance. He didn't have the courage to face his own emptiness, so he chose to worship evil instead. His obsession wasn't a phrase. It was a blueprint. He spent years nurturing twisted admiration for mass murderers, dreaming of the day he'd outdo them. This wasn't a snap decision. It was a long, deliberate descent into depravity, and Westman alone owns every step. His attack on the church next to the Annunciation Catholic School was the ultimate act of cowardice. He didn't face armed opponents or challenge those who could fight back. No, he targeted a sanctuary filled with children and elderly worshipers, people who posed no threat to him, who were there to pray and find peace. 2 children, barely old enough to understand the world, had their lives snuffed out because this monster decided their deaths would make him feel powerful. 17 others, including grandparents who should have been safe in their place of worship, were left wounded, their lives forever scarred by his bullets. This wasn't bravery. It was the act of a spineless predator who preyed on the defenseless to stroke his own ego. His choice of a church wasn't random. It was a calculated middle finger to everything sacred. He wanted to defile a place of love and community, to maximize the pain and terror. Research shows that mass shooters often pick symbolic targets to amplify their impact, and his attack screams of someone desperate for attention, craving the infamy that comes with shattered lives. The YouTube screenshot that spread after the attack, as noted by The Independent, a news organization, proves he got the spotlight he wanted. But let's be clear, he's not a star, he's a stain, a pathetic wannabe who thought killing kids would make him matter. He got his hands on a firearm and chose to use it to murder. No one forced him to seek it out, to load it, to aim it at innocent people. That was all him. The fact that he could walk into a church and unleash carnage is a testament to his own malice, not to anyone else's failure. That's where I disagree, and I've thought about it since I wrote this. He didn't just fire a gun. He wielded it as an extension of his hatred, each shot a deliberate act of evil. And when it was over, he didn't have the guts to face his own consequences. His self-inflicted gunshot wound wasn't remorse. It was the final act of a coward, too weak to stand trial for the lives he destroyed. He ran from accountability, leaving families to grieve and survivors to suffer. Don't even think about painting him as a troubled soul or someone who slipped through the cracks. He wasn't a victim of fate. He was a perpetrator who made every choice that led to this bloodbath. His middle school behavior, Nazi salutes, Hitler worship, fixations on mass shootings wasn't a cry for help. It was a neon sign of his intent to harm. He had years to turn away from that path, to reject the poison he was feeding himself, but he didn't. He leaned into it, embraced it, and acted on it. The 38.4% of mass shooters who end their attacks in suicide, as research indicates, aren't tragic figures. They're often calculating cowards who planned their exit to dodge justice. His death was just another way to spit in the face of his victims, ensuring he'd never have to answer for his crimes. There's no room for sympathy here. He wasn't coerced, wasn't brainwashed. He was a grown person who decided to become a murderer. His actions weren't the result of some external force. They were the product of a rotten heart and a weak mind that found purpose in destruction. He doesn't deserve our tears or understanding. He deserves our contempt. He doesn't get to be a household name. He doesn't get to live on in infamy. He so desperately wanted. The no notoriety campaign is right. Giving trash like him attention only fuels the next pathetic loser with a gun. He wanted to be feared, to be remembered as some dark legend. Instead, he should be erased. His name buried under the weight of his own disgrace. The real story is the 2 children he killed and the 17 he wounded. The families he shattered. He is nothing, a fleeting shadow who thought murder would give him meaning but only proved his worthlessness. Let me be crystal clear. He was a coward, a murderer, and a nobody who chose to inflict pain on the innocent. He alone is responsible for the horror in Minneapolis, and he alone deserves the full measure of our scorn. No excuses, no context, just condemnation for a monster who chose evil and paid for it with his own worthless life. Again, that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You can tell me to kick rocks. But that's that. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Again, Wednesday night, I'll be back for the Pulse with Alexander and Damon, the Hammer Galdo. I'll be back next Sunday, same bat time, same bat channel, 7 to 8:30. I ran a little over tonight. Sorry, Damon Sherrod. I apologize. He's probably, get off the... But, shit happens. Again, thank you for spending time with me tonight. I appreciate it. If it's your first time here, thank you. Remember to like, follow, and share this video and everybody else's podcast with everybody you know. The more people that hear us, the more our word gets out, the bigger our voices are, and the more change we can affect. That's very important. Thank you, Donald. You be well, too. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Donald, for posting in the chat. That's always awesome. Everybody likes it. But have a good evening. Enjoy your day off tomorrow. Have a hot dog or a hamburger and a beer for me. And then it's back to the grind on Tuesday, but it's a short week. And before you know it, we'll be back on the weekend. And remember, if you live your life based on principle and not on some party, you're going to live a really good life. And it'll be something you and your family can be proud of. Thanks a lot, everybody. Remember to like, follow, and share us. Everybody have a good evening.